What's up guys, welcome back to another Leather Seat Pros and Touchups Automotive video. Today we're installing a Katzkin leather kit in a 2025 Silverado. Alright, let's get into it. This is the kit we're installing today, but there are many more options like these. Alright guys, these are the tools that you're going to need for this project. Alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, now we're going to get the seats out. So we're going to start by unbolting everything. So we're going to start with these front seats. Move it all the way back so we can expose these front bolts. Sometimes you got to move it down too, it'll move it further back. You got two T50s in the front. Move it forward so we can get to the backs, and we're also going to get this plastic piece off. So go ahead and move the seat all the way up, give it room to come off. It's got to go straight up, and then I usually put my finger in here in the front and pull it up, and that'll just pop it right off. And then while you're at it, move the whole seat all the way up, front and the back, if you have an auto. Now, while you're back here, after you take this bolt out, lift it up, and you can push down on the ends of this. Go ahead and remove this, because as you're fumbling this seat around on the table, you can break these things, and it's good to just get it out of the way. All right, from here, I'm gonna go ahead and just get it where it goes, and I'm just lining up this plastic with this back foot. Move it all the way up, and then for the back, I put my hand in here and I'll move it back, lean it back until it's I can feel the least amount of pressure in there. Something else I usually do to make things just a hair easier is I will move this lumbar all the way back, so that when we're putting the leather on, it's a little bit less pressure, like, you know, pushing out. All right, now we're gonna get this plug. It's usually connected here on the left. So we're gonna get it up under that, and pop that out. And this plug has a red safety pin, and then it has a little push-in tab up here. I'm gonna show you, and then you just slide it out. So it's got this little cutout. Here, you're out of focus right there. It's got this little cutout right here, and you just push in on that and pull it back, and it'll come right out. All right, everything's unbolted. We're gonna go ahead and remove the seat. So I'm just gonna get kind of behind it and lift it up. And more than anything, I'm gonna watch these back feet not hit the truck. And there you go. All right, so we have it out. We're gonna start tearing it down. first thing I do is I'm going to move this headrest all the way up. Use that button. Then these bevels they screw out, and they're going to expose these little pins we're trying to reach. Okay, yeah, you see it? There we go, there's a good shot of it. You see it? Yeah. Once you can see it, you see I'm moving it to the left and then lifting up on this side, then I have to do it to the other side. So I'm holding the left side. It's on the left side. And you can't. It's really hard to see. And what you want to do is you want to get in there, and there's a little loop right there. And you want to try and get in there and then move it to the left like that. And we can show you a little bit better when the cover's off and everything, but so we got that done. Now the plastic. For this plastic, you're gonna need your T30. You got one in the back. And then one in the front underneath. Alright, that one we just did was for a auto with auto controls. This is a manual. So if you have one of these, we're going to show you how to get this off. So you're going to want to pop this cover off. You just get in here, pop it off just like that, and then you're going to have an 8mm under there. Remove that, and then this plastic is going to have 3 bolts, same locations as the last one, plus one in the middle. Nice. Alright, then you got your 2 up here, one up here, 2 left. One back here. Alright, once you got those 2 bolts out, we're going to flip this upside down. And we need to get in here. You can see there's kind of this plastic. It's this right here. This is what's keeping the whole plastic on in the front. So you can get some form of needle nose. Straight ones are bent. All right, so you just get any kind of needle nose. It might be, sometimes you can fit pliers in here too. And just kind of pinch the sides, and it will release this front. Now once we have the front, we're going to flip it back. Alright, so next, it's connected here and it's connected in the back, and we need to pry it apart right here. And we're going to use the steam. You can do this without the steam. You need to be careful, but we're working on a customer's vehicle, so we need to be extremely careful and make sure we don't break anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and steam. Just kind of heat this up a little bit. Back here. And then I'm gonna, see, pop that back. And then I'm gonna come up and steam the top. And then just kind of jiggle it, and there it goes, pops right off. Okay, now we're gonna flip it all upside down again. Now for the auto, we're just gonna leave this plastic on here. It's, you don't have to remove it. And I'm gonna start with everything on the bottom. All right, and if it does have a seat heater, we're going to go ahead and remove that. You got two trees holding it in. And this seat heater has a red safety pin. And then it's got a tab on the side. All right, then we got a couple Christmas trees. And then let me get this side plastic. So you got two of them right here. These can be a little stubborn. There we go. These fronts. Alright, now let's work on the back since we're right here. Just gonna make our life easier. So we can get these J-clips. And then these zippers. And these zippers, if you're wanting to save these covers, be kind of careful with them. They can get messed up and real easily. So. Alright, so you're gonna have a on the bottom. And then these both sides. And then this airbag. And this airbag, you can usually just squeeze this together and it'll force it out without breaking it. Alright, so now we're ready to flip it. At this point, you can go ahead and remove the butt entirely. Just want to pull it out. But go kind of slow in case you get the wire caught on something. If you have seat heaters. Pull the bottom out. The sides. These are usually not very tight. boss wolf. Now, be careful with this Velcro. You will rip these things out pretty easily, so you just kind of put pressure on it as you're pulling the Velcro away. Come over here this side. I'm gonna go ahead and get this airbag sleeve out. Sometimes I have to go from the inside and help it. And then the rest is clips. So for these clips, these can be a little tricky when you haven't done these a bunch, but you want to put pressure on it away and get it off of the edge of this rail, like so, and then just roll it out. You can keep putting pressure on it and roll it out at the same time. Just like so. All right, so that's how you do it the right way. And if you're wanting to keep the covers, if you're not worried about saving the covers, there's another method you can do. You can just cut these rails off, but you don't want to cut them like this from the top. This is kind of reckless. We've seen people do it that way, but you have seat heaters. You don't want to hit the seat heaters, and you don't want to cut your foam. So we're going to show you what to do. Going to peel it off to the point where we're about to take these out normally, and we're just going to cut these rails off from here. We're going to cut this gray fabric holding the rail on, and be careful of the seat heater. If you cut down here, you're not going to hit the seat heater. So. The other side. Let's do the whole thing this way. So yeah, this one you do need to be careful, more careful. You might want to pull it away and make sure you're not on the surface of the seat heater. You can kind of, on these parts, I'd cut really close to the cover. This one. All right, once you have cover cut, you can just take these rails and slide them out. There it is. Alright, once you're at this stage, when we're ready for the covers, it doesn't matter which one you do first. You can do the butt or the back, so we're going to do the back. Also, you know, make sure when you're grabbing your cover that you grab the right one. There's a passenger and a driver. One indicator on these kits and most Katzkin kits is the Katzkin tag. Make sure this Katzkin tag is on the side of the door. Alright, so once you have the cover, first thing you want to do is turn inside out all the way. And this kit in particular only uses one of the three front to back rails. So, you know, as you can see, it's just one big piece here. So we're only going to do this first rail. Normal kits, they're going to have the others that you have to pop in here too. Now, once you're here, rule of thumb, we always go front to back and then side to side, just to make sure everything gets squared up. So bring this rail up to where it goes and center it up. This is really important. You want to make sure it's center. Sometimes there's an indicator on the cover that'll tell you where the center is, but I don't go by that. Just center it up yourself. I'm going to shove this rail in here. And, you know, this rail is like a long triangle. And you want to get this pointy edge part into this little gap of the clip. And sometimes the rail can go behind it and you don't really realize it. So just kind of pay attention, make sure you're shoving it where it's supposed to go. And center it up. Hit the second one. And from here we're going to do the sides. And from the sides, center it up too. And since we just have this one rail, we're going to make sure these seams are in this groove. Alright, and now you kind of look at it, just make sure it's all nice and straight. You know, sometimes the rails need shifted a little bit, even when you put them where they go. Alright, now what we're going to do, we're going to wrap it around the front. And sometimes, you know, I'll grab this foam, push it in. And you want to kind of be careful with it. This one's a little tighter. And now, from this point, we're going to do this Velcro. So, just make sure there's a big groove for this Velcro strip. Make sure you're getting in there. And attaching it. And you kind of got to work it in there. Make sure there's a good connection. Let me go ahead and wrap this side over and then do the other side here. Same thing, you can see. Once it's in there, I'll wrap this around, and that's it. Now we're ready for the back. All right, now we're ready to put the back on. Once we have the back, we're gonna unzip it and turn it inside out, just like the butt. Now with the back too, you need to make sure that you're grabbing the right one, the right side. And usually a real easy indicator of that is the airbag. Airbags, look at the airbag, see which side you got. So same rule with the butt, we're gonna do the top to bottom first and then the sides. And this one in particular is going to be skipping this. We only have one of the two rails. So we're just gonna put this up here and snap it in. And these ones, I'm usually pushing from the back as well with my other hand. Right here, they actually make a indentation for it. And then the second one on top. Now from here, I'm gonna lean it back and look at it and center it up because it's not centered right now. You see it's too far to the right. So these will slide in these rails, and I'm just gonna center it up. Center. I'm gonna do these sides. Now, same thing, look at this seam. Make sure you're lining it up with this groove. And then, yeah, sometimes there's two edges on each side of this rail, and the one you can see will get in there, but the one on the other side doesn't. So it's good to kind of push on the other side, make sure it's in there. Same thing here, match up groove with the seam. Now for the airbag. You can release these the same way as the factory cover without breaking them. And I'll go just the same way. And then from here, you just want to make sure that you're connecting these the right way where they go, just like that. We're gonna wrap it around now. And just be cautious of these zippers. You just want to work it around, kind of, where it goes. Alright, from here, hold on, let's go ahead and get this bottom part in there too. kind of want to put everything where it goes for now. And this is the stage where we would normally steam it. Now you don't have to steam these. You know, you can put them. You can just put them out in the sun, or put them in the heat somewhere. Put them back in the car and then turn the heat on. But you don't want to use a hair dryer or a heat gun. You'll burn the leather, burn the vinyl. You'll just ruin the covers. Alright, from here, I'm going to reach in and get these Velcro pieces. I'm going to feel in there and make sure that they're going where they go and apply pressure from the outside. And then once I know they're in there good, I'm going to work it in there. And the same on this side. Now, get these sides, these little clips. He's going to go on the side of the frame. And also, here comes this one. As I'm doing this, I'm working these sides underneath this metal part where they go, so it'll be nice and clean looking. All right, when you're back here, just go ahead and hit this bottom J-clip. Now we're ready for the zippers. Now these can be kind of tight, and you want to get them together and also parallel with each other. You don't want one like this, you know, it's not going to zip down. So you want to bring them together, make sure they're even, and just zip it down with your finger. And to make sure it doesn't get bunched up, you see it's got these inside pieces of material that it gets caught on a lot. All you have to do is make sure that this portion that you would normally pull on is in between the whole time as you're going down. Sometimes you're going to pull this back out. And once it's in there, we're going to put it back in there underneath the cover. Okay. From here, you don't necessarily have to flip it over for this. It does make it easier. But we have to get this bottom J-clip and then also these zippers. So you just put these zippers underneath this foam and out of the way. Kind of sandwich it between the foam and the frame. Now, ready for this. I'm pulling it pretty tight. And then, over here, get on that side. You just kind of aim Get that. There it is. Now we're ready for the butt. All right, we're ready to join them. So once you got your butt covered, something else needs done. Put this seat heater wire through here. All right, now we're putting this back on. Go wire first. Put the wire over the bar. And then you want to put these clips over the bar, or this back flap, and then you can get behind it and pull it, make sure it's all there. Get it right to the edge, and we're gonna get this foam in between the seat and over the bar, and kind of take some finagling sometimes. A lot of times what I'll do is come up underneath here to the corner and push up as I'm pushing the seat, pushing the butt in there. And this one might actually get easier. And once you're here, you can give it a few slaps to make sure. All right, now something you need to do is make sure that these flaps, these side flaps, are going where they need to go. They need to go down. And same on the other side. You don't want to have to deal with this later. It's just a headache. All right, and then we're going to get the foam around the frame where it goes and inside the cover. You can see right here the cover's sandwiched in, so we're trying to get all that out. Once it's where it goes, we're going to start on the front, and we're getting this clip, this J clip, over this rail. So I'm gonna roll it over like this, and we'll snap it on. Now, same for the sides. Now I usually work this side a little bit, get it to where it's nice and neat. And then we're gonna do the same thing on here. Roll this over. Get it snapped in place. And then a lot of times I'll take this flap and pull it down. Here, come over here. You can see what it's doing. It's making it nice and tight there. Bottom of it. Once you're here, you can go ahead and get this seat heater wire. It's got its 2 trees, and then this clip, and don't forget the safety pin on that. Right from here, I'm going to take the flap and put it where it goes. And then these flaps need Christmas tree back where they were. So you want to save these from the original cover because we're going to reuse them for the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and get it where I think it goes, and then just poke a hole at this like so, and same on the other side. Alright, and then shove that through. Now we're going to put this plastic back on. So this, I'm going to get it where it goes, and then I'm going to do this front one on. You need to make sure that it's going where it needs to go. So you can see it's in there. I can't find it. There it is. So we're gonna just push it in just like that. Now we're going to, I just did both of these at the same time. So just push it in there, and that's where it goes. Now we need the screws. So let me get this one. And while you're down here, pull this flap and put these right here. And the last thing is these headrest bevels. So you want to just kind of find it, make it kind of pop out, and then cut right along the edge of it as best you can, and don't slip while you're cutting it. Cut it too much. The bevels and twist these back on. And there it is. Now the headrest. All right, last but not least on this front seat is the headrest. So you're gonna start with the bottom clasp. Just gonna pull this out. And then, all right, I like to start on the side that has the button on it. Something I'll normally do is go ahead and remove it from around this button. And then actually makes it easier to give yourself a little more room. And then we're just going to wrap this around the button like so. And then come to the other side. Just going to work it little by little. Just like so. Alright. So we got our headrest cover, and you don't need to steam this, but you can go ahead and steam it. Alright, once it's steamed, put the headrest on the side that doesn't have the button to start. And I usually hold it up with my body and get it hooked on the other side and just kind of work it over. And I'm just making sure everything's even and lined up, and seams are going on the body lines correctly. And also that these are all lined up. And then once you're here, you just want to roll this flat plastic piece into the J clip. So, make sure it's in there. This last one, just put it in there. Alright, now from this point, you're gonna need you have to cut this button out. So we're gonna go ahead and find it and make an impression of it where we can kind of see it. And you want to cut on the inside so that you have room to put the leather underneath the button. Once you're here, just wrap it around, just like so.
All right, now we're gonna get the back seat out. The first thing you do, lift these up. This is the customer's vehicle, so we got random stuff in the way here. 10mm. Now there's 4 bolts that hold this back seat back to the frame. And we got our 10mm. You need a long extension to reach these. Get those out. And as you're doing this, grab that bolt. You'll wish you did later if you don't. They get slung around and lost back there. And then one more. Okay, after you do that, these headrests, so we're gonna let it down. And then there's 2 tabs. I'll show you on this one. There's these tabs right here on both sides. So you push those in and then lift up. And then same thing on the back. Might have to do one side at a time, but it's got the same little tabs. And next step is you have to get these headrest bezels out. And you can't really see it. I'm going to show you once we get it out what we're hitting. We're going to kind of go in here and push back. But watch yourself. We use a real short one so we don't hit the back glass or go too far. And it gives you more control as opposed to a long flathead. But you're gonna go in here and pry it up, and when you're trying to hit, you're trying to push this in, so you kind of see, and it's down there, you know, about 1 inch or so. So you're gonna go and hit at an angle. You're trying to kind of catch right there. That's about where that thing's at. And now you need a hook tool. You can get these at Harbor Freight. They're really cheap if you don't have one laying around. They come in a 4-pack, but this is the one you need. There's a spring-loaded latch behind. There's 3 of them on a 19 to 21. There's 3 of them. On a 22-ish and up, there's only 2. They're on both sides.
Hold on.
And you can't see them. I'm going to show you after we get it out what you're trying to hit. But on this side, you're going to go hooking. The hook goes to that side. And you go down here. And you're just going to feel around. And you'll hear or feel kind of a spring. And once we get it all the way out, we'll show you what you're hitting. Okay, on this one there's 3. Sometimes there's only 2, and sometimes there'll be 3, but only 2 of them will be hooked. But it's kind of the same thing. You're just feeling around. And then this one will be that direction. You can take a few tries to find that. And sometimes you'll hit it and you'll hear it kind of spring, so you know you're close. That was actually that way also. They're all that way. But this is what you're trying to catch. If you don't catch that, you're at least catching some part of that mechanism that will lift that. Yeah, mechanism. So what you're trying to catch, you're trying to move this whole thing up. If you catch this hook, that's perfect, but you don't have to. As long as you can catch something, because you know you can't see this, so as long as you catch something that moves that up, even if you're way down here, that's what you're trying to catch. And then once you got all that undone, you want to kind of grab the seat here and pull straight towards the front, and then pull this back out. If you don't pull it straight, if you just pull straight up, sometimes you'll hit these vents and knock them out. This stuff here, this foam and these things catch these vents and knock them out, and you don't know it. And you put it back in, you got dust coming in. And then some models have extra things here that this stuff catches on. So just pull it from the bottom forward, and then it's ready to come out.
Alright, hold on one second. I'm gonna get a clean shot of where they actually are too, so it'll make things easier. Because I can look at the straps and locate it, but hold on. Alright.
And when you're pulling it out, bring the seatbelt to you so it's not catching on everything. And then watch all these brackets, but what you're going to do is kind of put it up and bring it out. This thing's pretty light, so it's easy to carry. Now on these bottoms, undo this seatbelt strap. And then you have these Christmas trees. You can put this in between, just go down there, pop it off. There's one just like it on this side. Just pop it off. And then these just pull off. Then you're gonna have this Velcro. Just undo that. And a lot of times they're hooked here, so make sure you undo it all the way. Just kind of push it out of the way. And then you don't have to take all this frame out. We're going to show you how to take this, just these bottoms out, so you don't have to deal with all this framework. Just going to unzip them. And then this, you can pry off one corner, and it'll just come right off. And then all you gotta do is just take this foam off. You can recover it and then bring bring it all back in at once. You don't have to take all the you don't have to take all this framework out. And same thing on this one. Unzip it. And this one you just kind of pull that channel apart. And just work this off there, and then we'll recover these, and then we'll just pop them back on. That way you don't have to take all this out.
All right, now we're gonna get the jump seat. So it's gonna have 4 18mm bolts. We're gonna start here with this cover and just get in there and pry it back. Once you've got it all unbolted, this jump seat will have a plug, and it's a pretty easy one. It's got your safety pin, and it's got the same kind of cutout that you just push in, and then it'll release it. You pull the whole thing back. Now this one also has, it's like another piece of the harness is on top of a metal post, and you can feel in here and lift up and remove it, and this is what it looks like. So it's this on top of that. Just pop it off. All right, picture here. Alright, now we're going to start on the jump seat, start uncovering it. So, first thing, we're just going to hit, there's a bunch of T20s all around it. We're just going to hit all of these. So, when you lift up the lid, we're going to take the lid off first. So, we get behind here, just pop this cover. And this is going to reveal 4 T20s. And then we can just kind of slide this off. And now I'll hit this one. And then there's 2 more under the cup holder. So you just pop this rubber out and hit these. And then there's 2 more for the seatbelt. And then here, while you have this up, there's 2 more under here. Pop this off. Alright, now I'm gonna come around to this side where we got these screws out, and just grab on this side of the plastic and just kind of yank it up, and the whole thing will come up. It's just held in by a bunch of metal clips. Alright, next thing, we're gonna pop this Christmas tree out. And we need a T15. So these are T15s. And then this will just come out. Alright, we can go ahead and start getting these clips out from behind. Or from the inside. There's two more in here. Alright, we're gonna push this forward so we can get this back J-clip. Now at this point we're going to use a little steam. You can do this without steam. But I usually get something that will wedge in here and try it to where it'll separate. And once you have this kind of started, you want to come in here I'm still gonna get this. It's the stubborn one. Alright, so once we got that, I'm gonna lift it up. We're going to separate this. Still got one more around this side. We got one more clip in here that we need to get. So I'm going to squeeze it. We'll get one side at a time. Stay over here. Okay, now we got to get this bottom plastic off. So another thing is when you get the seat belt out, it kind of just takes some finagling. And you can see where it's connected right here. Just pop that off. And then now coming right here to the front. Now we're going to get it separated from there. And then it has two metal clips in here. Just pop those out and then pull this off. Alright, now we've got this side. Now we're going to get this other side. So this side is a little different. Shiny, there's a metal clip in there, and you can access it. You can get in here and squeeze it and then pull it out and hold it. this, separate that. Now this last part, there's a metal clip in here, similar to this one, but can't get access to it. So what we usually do is I'll just wiggle it off and out, and I'll just come over here. I'll get it like this. And then we'll just stick this back on. There we go. All the way. It's back on. Alright, now we're going to get this bottom plastic. Remove this seat belt, so you can just pry it up off of this. Get rid of this, don't need it anymore. And take the seat belt out. And once you're here, that was all we removed this for. You just stick this back on. And good to go on that. All right, so this seat belt was held in by a metal collar, and this whole, show the whole thing. This whole top portion has to be removed. So we need to set it aside. Because of that, we have to remove the seat belt from this location there. Now, once you're at this point, you need to remove this plastic piece, peel this back, pull this through, and then undo this Velcro. We're going to remove these bolts right here. These are 15s. Now we're going to remove this stuff now. You're going to need a T20 and T45. The first thing you want to do is, there's a lot of pressure on this. There's this big spring in here. It's always under pressure. So we're going to put it back as far as possible. Take some of the pressure off. And we're going to take this off of the post. So no pressure now. And there's a T20 up underneath here. I'm going to remove that. And then we're going to do the, I'm going to put it back down. And then there it is. All comes off as one. Now from this point, you're going to slide it off, but there's a couple things to note. As you're sliding or trying to slide it, it may not want to go. And a couple things it's getting stuck on. Here, come to this side. You can see inside here, it will get stuck like that. And so just make sure it's not hanging on that, on those pieces of metal, and then should be able to slide it off. Now there's one more thing too to watch, is where that T20 went here. The back of it kind of sticks out, and you may have to pull this out from around it, and then it should slide right off. Now depending on the model, these might have a metal pin, and you'll have to come in here and do it manually, like this one. So it's just kind of releasing that. Now we're gonna take this seat belt, take it out from here. Set this aside for now. This piece has a T45 also on this side. Once you're here, this side, you want to kind of push it in. You can see, like, you know, this is kind of in there, so push it in to lift it out, and then you have a kind of a guiding post on the other side. You need to pull it out. All right, just make sure that you get this back in there where it goes. Now we're gonna set this aside also. We're gonna uncover this butt piece. This has a J-clip right here. You can usually just roll it until it starts coming out. It's got a little bit of Velcro right there. You're gonna pull it off of these. All right, so we're gonna start covering this one. All right, you want to make sure that this foam is on the frame where it goes, where it's supposed to go. It doesn't fall out of place as you're doing this, but and once you kind of get it on there, and reach the end here, I usually roll these over these top parts. And then I'll push it down. Now, somewhere from, must be 24 to 26, they stopped, they did away with the clips inside of here. They used to have clips that are just like the front seats, and you snap this rail into them. But on these newer ones, especially the 26s and some of the 25s, they're not there. So we'll just go ahead and cut this rail off. Otherwise, you know, you shove this in there and snap them in. Now on this part, I'm just trying to roll this seam over so it's all kind of even through here. Same on this side. And we're going to stick it over this long post first. And you can go ahead and want to cut for this. I usually, you know, this part of the cover has to go down, and then the cover, this part itself is going to come down. So I usually do a diagonal cut to give it room. And you know, you're never going to see this anyway, but you want to aim as best you can. And then we're going to wrap this side around. And then wait to cut those. Now we're ready to clasp this. And you know, I'm trying to make sure this is all even too as I'm doing this. There it is. Now that we have it in its pretty much its final position, we're going to go ahead and cut for these. So this is just a small one. And I'll cut this one a little bit smaller than the actual hole is, so that it sticks around there nicely. Alright, now we're going to stick this back on. So it has these two prongs here, and there's holes for them, and we're going to try and cut for those and the screw holes. So you got one over here. It's usually pretty close, but I'm gonna expose it a little bit more. And then this one is for one of those prongs, and then you have another screw hole right here. So there you go. So I'm gonna start from the back. And this one kind of needs help guiding it on, so kind of just get in the back where it goes and give me a little bit more room on the front. Put the seat belt through its hole. And then for now, stick this around here. Back J-clips. This one. For the front, I'm going to put this where it goes. This goes back through its cage. Move it up a little bit, give it some more room up here. All right, so once you get to this point, you kind of roll this over. You can go ahead and get this side one. And just roll it over, put it into its channel. And we normally staple this. We'll staple all the way along this edge and even this one, but you don't have to. And we're going to show you an alternative, something else you can do instead if you don't have a staple gun, is just take some duct tape or Gorilla Tape. We use this Gorilla Tape. It works really good. You don't have to get the wide, you can just get the normal, and we've just cut it in half like this. And while it's up like this, just kind of put it across it, like a little bit past the stitching. Make sure you seat it good on there. And pull it over to where it's going to go. And just tape it down like this. And you're not going to see any of this. So this is all hidden. Alright, so from here, let's see. Go ahead and finish these sides. Now you're going to have to cut you have to cut a big hole here, but just go ahead and cut for just this for now, just to give us enough room to clip down the rest of this. And this piece is going over this plastic right here, this plastic rail, just like the rest of it. Here. Alright. Make sure you're watching for these pieces. Get them where they go, and then shove this leather, shove the material in there, and then there you go, just like that. All right, from here we're going to start making our cuts. This piece, needs to be cut where this big hole in the frame is, and you can just kind of feel where the hole is and cut along it. And then here's our clip that we stuck on. You can just go right along that. And we're going to cut for the clips that are going to go in here. Okay, now this piece, I'm just getting this in there a little bit better. Okay, now this piece, I'm kind of cutting for this big metal bulge right here. And then you feel around for the holes where the clips go. And then here's another one. I usually will, so you can see it, but I usually cut a little extra, so I don't have to worry about it having problems. And then there's one here. And then there's one here. that's all of them. Alright, now leave this flap. This is going to be last. But we're going to go ahead and put the seat belt guide on there. Go ahead and get your T20 ready. Now, if you peel this back, you can see the screws we're trying to hit. If you don't cut for this, it can be a nightmare trying to find them, so I always cut for these. And then also, like in this case, the fabric was up over this, and you want to shove it beneath because the cover is going to go kind of in there. All right, so now put the seat belt back in here. And you want to make sure that this is going above this. This lip is going above this with nothing in the way or sandwiching it. So we have this piece of material. I'm just making sure it's underneath it. Now we have this. We're all ready. And it is ready to go back on. So, all right, now we're gonna recover this too. Normally on a black leather kit, we would not change this, but for this instructional video, we want to show you guys how to do it. So it's got these are all T15s, 6 of them. All right, as long as all of these are not broke, you know, you don't need a stapler for this part. Sometimes they are, you know, just right out of the gate, out of the factory. But this one, they seem to all be intact. But you just want to pull the leather off of all these little plastic tabs. And it's got 4 more screws. And you want to be careful when you're taking these off. You can break them yourself pretty easily. Save this tree. I start from the back and try and get this back portion even, and also get this seam along this body line, and then wrap it around the front. And you want to get it centered, you know, this way as much as possible before you start cutting. And I'm going to start from this first middle one back here where the tree was. Just pull it really tight. We're going to stick this tree back in. And then from there we're going to go try to be careful with these. All right, now I'm gonna do the fronts. When I do these fronts, kind of help give me a guide on where it's at, I use these holes it has, and they seem to be lined up pretty good. So the next ones are these front two. And you know, you want to cut it, like pull it where you think it's going to go, or where you think it needs to be, and cut it along the line as if it was already in there. All right, now and then look at this thickness here. Try and match it up. This one's going to be tight. There we go. put this piece in. Now you gotta, there's some things you gotta watch out for. It's got this tab prong. It's got to go in there, and then here are your screw holes. Sometimes you have to cut here, but if you can help it, see, I think it does need it just a little bit. I'm kind of cutting it where these holes are for the screws, and then we have one more here. It's going to be up front. You may have to cut for that sometimes. Look like we'll get away with it this time. So I'm gonna line it up and try and get one in there. Now we got those started. Make sure to line that plastic prong up in the hole. I'm not tightening them down until I get the last one in here. And there we go. Now we just got big plastic. Now let's see. Just line it up to these two in the middle. These front two are covered, but we're just gonna go through them. And there it is. I'm gonna set this aside. All right, we're gonna start from the bottom up. So with this, you want to aim for, make sure this post is getting in there. And once it is, you wiggle it in there. And then we're putting these pieces where they go. We can get the screw, the bolt. Started. Put this plastic piece back on. So stick the seat belt through there. All Alright, so when you're putting this back on, one thing to know is this bracket, the plastic on the inside here needs to go underneath it. And you can accidentally put it over it, not realize it. So I kind of usually I bend it in a little, stick it under there where it needs to go, and then start guiding it in from there. And another thing to watch for is you want this little lip to go under the plastic here. And so once everything's looking good, press down and then seat this back. And sometimes you'll have to work that in there. So we're good. Now we're going to attach we're going to put the seat belt in the sleeve. This will take a little finagling. I kind of step it in there. Next is this big piece. But before we just go sticking it on, we gotta put side plastics back on. So I'm gonna start with the one that has the clip. So we're just putting this through its hole there, and I'll wait till I can hear the click. And this one doesn't have any metal, so you're gonna have to hold this one with your hand. And this is also why we had to cut for this hole, is for all of this. Okay, now come back here, and we're gonna watch for this, move it over. You'll kind of be sandwiching it in the beginning, and then you also have to watch for this, because this has to go into this channel here. Once we got that started, you can slide it in, and watch here, it's going to get caught again, so you have to kind of help it past. And then here, when I'm bringing it through here, if you just slide it through, it's going to scrape this whole side and make it all gouged up and ugly. So as I'm pushing it, I'm kind of keeping it away from that wall. And then you're going to hit the screw hole again, or the housing, and I'm trying to push it out and around that so we can get around it. Okay, we're around that now, and there we are. We're home. So stick these screws in here. Started. And then I'm gonna tighten this one down. And something to note on this is this needs to go in this hole. You don't want to sandwich this stuff when it's not in the right spot. You'll warp it all up and it just won't go where it needs to go. So get it on the hole. You can kind of rotate it this way until you feel that it's in there good and secure. And we're going to tighten it down. And don't forget this T20 on the bottom. Tighten these 15s down. we can go ahead and wrap this over. Now you have to cut a hole for this to go through. And what you want to do is just kind of get it where it normally will naturally lay, and then see this indentation and cut a hole for it. Come back, stick it through, and stick it on there. Then this side, one last thing on this side, you need to cut for this hole for the clip to go into. Alright, now this side, before we do anything else, we need to move it back up, and again, try to avoid scraping the whole thing on this. So I'll put it up and hold it away, and we need to get this spring back where it goes. Good to go. Let's put it back down. Okay, now it's ready for its side plastics. So, you got a bunch of stuff kind of line up here, but just aim for these, aim to get these where they go in their holes. And then just kind of guide this as you're doing it. And I usually look over here and make sure they're all in there, and then tighten it down and pop this in place too. And just kind of make sure they're all in there where they go. And then we're gonna bring it up and do this last piece right there. So we just tighten that together. Now this has a, gosh, I can't remember what I was calling those.
Okay.
This has a plastic peg. Now here, first get the strap through here. Now you can break this thing off real easy, so be careful with it. And you're trying to go through this hole right here. So it's like a guide. And go ahead and snap it on this one, on this front one. Just make sure it's in there. You can usually hear it. There it is. And then we're gonna lift it up and do the same thing here. There we go. All right, now it's ready for a little bucket. We got T20 over here. And we have to push down to get it to line up. And two 15s on top, or two T15s. And you kind of want to get it where it goes. You can kind of feel, make sure the metal pins the middle tabs are in here, and just kind of slap it down. And just kind of double check it's all in there. I usually look at this gap right here. This will tell you if something's messed up. It looks like the gap is looking pretty good. There's no gap, so let's put the two T20s in here. And the cup holder has its own guiding prong. It's gonna go in that hole. So just watch for that. And then last is the lid. Now on this lid, I've seen them put this on here incorrectly from the factory. They'll just stick it on like this. And you need to bring this plastic piece over this metal. And then the two guiding prongs will come through their holes. So just watch for that. Plastic piece. And all right, then we're going to put this seat belt in here. I usually just stick it there because it holds it. And then this will just, this has its own notch too, so just get in there where it goes. Now it is complete and ready to go back in the car.
All right, now we're gonna get the back seat back. Here, we'll just start on this end. So you're gonna pull these. You don't have to pull them all out, just pull out the ones that are holding the cover on. These just pop out. And then these Christmas trees, you have to reuse them, so you gotta save them. Just gonna pop them out. All right, and then this one, let's pull this, all of this one because it's holding that. More trees. And you'll have some Velcro on the sides. A lot of times it's going to want to pull off the foam, so just kind of put pressure against it as you're pulling it off. Here's another set. This one, see how it's already trying to pull off? Just kind of stick it back on there. And then when we gather up
these.
Let's put them in. Let's put them in a tray over here. Okay, so you got everything undone. You put it back up. Put these out of the room. And some vehicles will have one of these here. So you see one there, take it out. And then some will have Christmas trees like we had on this one. They're just different models, different model years, I guess. And when you're flipping this over, sometimes this will fall off. Don't worry about it. Just walk it back on there. And just like always on these Velcro areas, hold the Velcro, the one end down while you're pulling on the other. And this has the same type of clips as the fronts. Just same thing, kind of hold and roll. And some of these, when you can, you just pull them out. Just whatever makes it easier. Some of them are close to the end. You can just pull them out. As long as you do this stuff under some, control, so you don't rip them out of the foam. That's it for that. All right, we'll start putting this thing down now. I start on this little square right here. Get it lined up. And pop them in there. And I'm gonna show you something you run into on some of the kits. See how this rail is too long, so we're gonna cut that off. If you don't, it's going to stick up here. So, and as this wraps around, it's going to poke out. So it's going to cut it off pretty much in that area, and then get rid of this little excess. And then we don't have to worry about this rail on these diamond kits, but normally you have that rail. But make sure this is lined up good. Now when you get to these ends, kind of pull them down so you pretty much got the end flush with the channel there. And then pretty much the same thing on this side. So you see that looks pretty good. And then, see, we're just a hair off here. We'll just adjust this down some. And there's this back seat's kind of, the foam's pretty thick. So you may notice these clips, since they don't have this foam's thick and soft, they don't have as much resistance. So you may have noticed as I'm clipping it, sometimes I have to clip them twice, like we talked about earlier, to make sure they completely seat. Just something to watch for on these back seats where the foam is just really thick and soft. So that's all the rails. All right, so we got all the rails in. We're gonna start to put the Velcro in. There's one right here in this turn, this curve. So you just wanna make sure the Velcro is kind of standing up in a way, and then just push it down in there. And then work it in as much as you can. Got another one right here. The more you can get access to them and wiggle them in there, the better. You can't do that in every single spot, but it's the same thing. See how this Velcro is kind of folded under. Just get it stood up and then press it in. This one here. Then one here. And this end. And then you can start bringing it over. There's some more Velcro on the sides here, so we'll start up here. You just want to push this out there as far as you can and just ease it over kind of slow. Don't get too quick on these corners or it'll rip this bottom seam if you get too aggressive with it. Make sure the foam is seated on the other foam. And so I'm pushing, pretty hard against that, and then just ease it over. And as you come around this side, you have all this Velcro. Now this Velcro, hooks here and here, and it will probably release on you. Get in there as best you can, but the point is, you gotta go pretty far because we have to get past here with here. That's the most important part. If this comes loose on you, it doesn't matter, it's hidden. Once it's back in the vehicle, you're not gonna notice it. But the main thing is, get it on there as far as you can, and it might take you a couple tries, but the point is you want this to go past that. So, and hook the Velcro as much as you can, but don't be surprised if this releases on you. It's just a really tight area. But when we flip it over, we'll come back to that anyway. And then this side is similar, has these pieces, and pretty much the same. You have the same goal. You have to get this corner into that corner. And like I said, these areas, the Velcro is kind of secondary. It's mainly just getting things to reach where they go. And then when we flip it over, we'll work on that stuff some more. So we got all those on there. You got this section. It also has Velcro that we're gonna have to get to. There you go. We'll get some support first. Put a few of these in here. And see how that one's released. But it's all right. We're gonna work on that some more. And it's just another one of those areas. Get the Velcro on there as best you can, but it's liable to pull loose on you. That's another spot that doesn't show, and it's not critical if it does. It's holding pretty good, but if it does come loose on you, it's all right. So we're gonna go through and hook these, then we have to cut for the other stuff. On these corners, I'll kind of push it down and then stick this in here. That's all of those. Now we're gonna work on these, where all these Christmas trees go. Sometimes these are pre-cut, sometimes they're not. So these aren't pre-cut, Christmas trees go through here. So you just take a blade or a sharp knife and just cut corner to corner. And this one. We got one more of these. Here's our trees. Stick in here. Just kind of pull that. And then you need one of these, or you can just take a blade and just make a little cut to get a Christmas tree through it. Or a Phillips screwdriver, just something to make a hole. A lot of different ways you can do it. But on these corners, make sure it's pulled up over. And I don't use the factory hole. I just hold it up here tight and just pick a spot and stick a tree in it. And then, we get this corner up here. So I'm holding pressure on it, putting a hole in it, and putting the tree in all at once. That way you're not, it's tight. You're not trying to hit that exact hole. You can just make a new hole. So I kind of pull it up, put a hole, put a tree, and stick these back in here. And then this one, you don't have a whole lot of extra room, so I pretty much do use the same hole for this one. We don't have a whole lot of extra material, so. And in this corner, this is what's gonna help all this Velcro. This corner has to come way up here, and you kind of start back here to give it extra room. So I'm pushing down and pulling up. And you're just gonna grab this, kind of hold here, and just pull it. Because you want this seam to be past here. But we have to cut for that, so I'm gonna grab the blade and the thing that goes in there. Now sometimes the kits are pre-marked with little white dashes to show you where to cut. This one's not, so you just kind of have to feel for it. Or you can lay this up there. But let's get it up where it goes first. So we have to get this seam past that corner. So I'm just holding, pull it over. And then, we have to hit here too. So while you got that held there, now you got to hold it and just kind of feel. And you can see these about how wide they are. So if you want, you can stick one in there if you want. And then just kind of look at it. Hit the next one. If it's using a little bit longer. Like that. Okay, and then we had this Velcro in here that we figured would come loose. We'll try to stick it back on, but it's probably gonna come loose on you. And we got a tree right there. And this corner is pretty tight. It might, it's probably the hardest part of this whole seat. Now, if you have some extra Christmas trees, which we do, but I'm showing you how to use what you have. If you have some extra Christmas trees, you stick them here, here. You can pull this over, stick them here. If you want to pull this over, you can stick it here. You don't have to. Just giving you some options. Oh, here you go. See, this one is marked. And you can pretty much trust these marks. And then what they don't mark is this little corner that has to go under that one. And then these had the trees going this way, if you remember. But to me, it's easier just to do it this way. And maybe not easier, but I think it'll hold better. So we just stick them in this way. But you can put them in that way, it doesn't matter. We got this one left, goes over here. Right under here is where the tree goes. And then a couple more of these. This one's pre-cut. But remember, you gotta cut this little corner also. And then right about here somewhere. Okay. This corner. I think that's it. Now we gotta do the headrest holes. Okay, so everything looks good there. All right, for these headrest holes, this can be a little stressful, so this is what we're gonna do. To make this easier for you. Try to find the middle of this hole, and then now hold it from this side so you're not pulling the material away. Just put your little hole in it, because if you don't do this every day, they are hard to find from the other side. All right, so that'll give you a guide to go by. Now we got a little. Okay, so now we got our little holes there, and you're basically just cutting, you know, like a nickel or so circle, just right around the hole. The little hole that you made. So something like that. Don't make them too small, because those posts are pretty big and they have kind of a big shoulder on them, and it'll grab the material. Like this one's iffy. It'll probably be all right, but definitely no smaller than that. This one's probably a little small. I'm used to doing this by feel, so, but so pretty much like that. Those should be all right. You just want room for the top of the headrest bezel to get in there. So there's the back. Now we'll work on we'll do one of the butts. You're both the same, so we'll do one of them real quick. All right, so here's the back bottom. We'll do one of these, and we've already put the front seats back in. You know, those are pretty straightforward, but we're gonna show you how to put these back in though. And then if we have missed something you wanted to see, just leave a comment or something. We do this every day, so we'll have plenty of opportunity to add something if it's something you want to see that we missed, or different vehicles for that matter. You know, we never know what's going to come through the shop. But it's the same thing, hold and twist. All right, these backs are pretty straightforward. Line them up. We're probably gonna cut that off. We're gonna cut that off. Kind of like the other seat. Let's let it. I'm gonna go a hair more. Trying to go just a hair more on this one. Get that lined up. And then just like the rest, we don't have to worry about those rails. Pull this over. All right, and then I'll kind of move it over to the corner, kind of squish this in, pull this over. It kind of lets the foam settle in there. Kind of the same thing, kind of push that in, and then let the foam seat that corner. And then we got this, where the seat belt goes. You just kind of want to find a happy medium. Kind of seat this to the front and then just pull that in there. And then there's some Velcro you can push on. The seat belt's going to hold it down too, but kind of find a happy medium there. And then this got some Velcro. You see there's a bunch of stuff here, so kind of get it out of the way. And then you want to kind of pull on this, kind of meet that Velcro in the middle. And pull this stuff over. And these two just kind of meet. There's no real tension on them, they just kind of meet there. And so that's it, that's all we can do out here. Now I'll show you how to get it back in the car. And like I was saying, when we took it out, doing it the way we're about to do it keeps you from having to take all the framework out. All right, so now we're gonna put it back in, and we have this one up, that one down. It just gives us room this up over. And you're gonna get it back over this frame. And sometimes you'll miss this. Just make sure that this corner piece is over. So now we got it back in here. Now we're gonna zip it, and just like all the zippers, you know, pull these together. You don't want any pressure on the zippers. And while you're at it, make sure this corner is pulled past the foam, so you have a clean edge over here. Just kind of watch that. If you miss it, you can get it later, but I'll just pull this down so you can see just that. Make sure that flaps over, and then this side, same thing, just pull it over tight, no pressure on the zippers. And then this is a tricky part. Now we're in a customer's vehicle, so he's got a bunch of stuff in here. So. But you got to connect these. We're gonna pull this up, this little flap, and stick it up there. And then these just hook together. You just kind of work them together. Sometimes, some vehicles, some kits, you want to reach back here to help hold it. And then some of them go really easily. So just pull that up, pull this down a little bit past it. And then we'll make sure these are tucked up in here. And put the zippers, push them up as far as you can up out of the way. And then on these two inside corners, you'll have this little flap here. This kind of lays flat. It's Velcro. And then this material, get up a little bit higher, goes over it, and then you got this little loop goes around, and so you kind of start there, kind of get it in its spot, and then you'll have to finish it from the top. You kind of get that, and you want it under that because our Christmas tree's gonna go in that, so it's kind of Velcro them together, and then the tree goes in that hole. And then our seat belt. It's that little strap there. And we got to get this side. Sometimes these flaps will fall down in the process. Just tuck it back up in there. Zip her up out of the way. And then there's the bottom. Now after it's in here, if you need to pull around, tug on it, get it where it goes. But now we're gonna get the other side in there, and then we'll show you how to put the back in. All right, now we're gonna put this back in. Just watch these back. All right, and you want to grab the seat belt, get it wrapped around there. And when you're putting this back in, it's the same thing. You want to be careful not to knock these vents loose. So as you're going up, leave it plenty of gap down here, and you're going to put the top in first. Kind of work it in pretty much where it goes, and then start tapping the bottom where it goes. And then you have to hook these clips up here. You just kind of knock it in. There's one there, and then that one, and then these posts. They have, not all models are flat like this. This one is, so it makes it real easy. The flat goes back. If yours are round, you're just looking for that thing you have to push on to get them out. And that's the direction they go. You just gotta kind of find that hole. And don't worry if your holes you cut are a little off, there's plenty of room. So you get it pretty much where it goes, and then just kind of seat it in there. And some will go in a lot easier than others, but it's basically the same process. Just kind of get it where it goes and just kind of seat it. And these are easy because it's flat, but just remember that goes facing you. And then make sure these are the bottoms in there. And now put these back up. And then this will be where you're glad that you got these bolts out. Otherwise you'd be back there digging for them. So. Now get these, if you have a tight tin, if you happen to have a tight tin, whatever, because you got to balance these back in there, that hole. It can be a little tricky because it's way up in there, and the carpet's also in the way sometimes. One more. Forward, didn't drop one. So that's the back seat. We still got the headrest. We'll go get those real quick. All right, last but not least are the headrests. So they just have the same clips as most of them. If you want to cut these off, just cut them, pull it off, but just kind of work them off. Once you get it started, they come off pretty easy. Okay. All right, these headrests, you know, obviously they only go on one way, but it's easy to put them on backwards. We've had a lot of people do it, and then they cut it, and then you're stuck. So just remember, you know, that's how they go in the vehicle. There's a thread side, it's like that. And you just kind of put them on with the threads on the edges. And you'll get them straight. You can pull them down. Clip in here, make sure you catch them all. That looks pretty good. Then we got to cut for that button. And then just to show you, we're cutting right there. So you can find it. And try to hit that groove as close as you can or inside it. Try not to get past that button. But that's pretty good, and we just push it over. All right, now I'll go throw these back in the truck, and this job will be done. All right, yeah, we just pop these back in. These are both on the same side, so it doesn't matter which side is which.